Former President Trump is seemingly jumping right back into the political scene. He's opening an Office of the Former President in Palm Beach County, Florida. The move comes amid questions on how Trump will get involved in politics after leaving office. A statement from the office explains it will manage Trump's correspondence, public statements, appearances, and official activities. The office aims to advance the interests of the U.S. and to, quote, carry on the agenda of the Trump administration through advocacy, organizing, and public activism. Senator Ted Cruz is trying to put term limits on lawmakers to hold career politicians accountable. Here are the details.
Senator Ted Cruz and other Republicans have reintroduced an amendment to the Constitution to limit the number of terms lawmakers can legally serve. It would limit senators to 2 6-year terms and representatives to 2 3-year terms. Cruz said, "The rise of political careerism in today's Congress is a sharp departure from what the founders intended for our federal governing bodies. I have long called for this solution for the brokenness of Washington, D.C., and I will continue fighting to hold career politicians accountable." He hopes it could give more oversight and accountability to people on Capitol Hill. He said, "Every year, Congress spends billions of dollars on giveaways for the well-connected. Washington insiders get taxpayer money and members of Congress get reelected, all while the system fails the American people." Other Republicans who have joined Cruz include Senators Mike Braun, Pat Toomey, Marco Rubio, Todd Young, and Rick Scott. It's the third time Cruz has introduced an amendment to impose term limits. One opponent argued in 2019 that term limits would make it harder for Congress to do its job. And without an election to worry about, lawmakers could be less concerned with the needs of their constituents. Cruz is asking colleagues to submit the amendment to the states for speedy ratification.
The White House signals it plans to continue the U.S.'s hardline stance against China. It's a response to recent comments from the head of the Chinese Communist Party, who spoke at the World Economic Forum.
We're starting from an approach of patience as it relates to our relationship with China.
At the event, Chinese leader Xi Jinping called on countries to cast aside what he called ideological prejudice and to, quote, reject the outdated Cold War mentality in an effort to fight global challenges. But Psaki said these comments don't change anything. She added that the Biden administration's approach on China remains what it has been for the last months, if not longer. She said the White House seeks to tackle China's threats with its own methods, explaining it aims to play a better defense. That includes holding Beijing accountable for unfair practices, protecting U.S. data, and maintaining the United States' technological edge. The airline industry is off to a bumpy start in 2021. As it recovers from the economic fallout caused by the pandemic, the Biden administration issues new policies that could hold them back. NTD's Don Tran has the details.
President Biden has made masks mandatory on domestic flights. That change got support from the airline industry, but another new presidential policy has rubbed them the wrong way. The new press secretary announced the Biden administration will reimpose travel bans on Europe, the UK, the Republic of Ireland, and Brazil.
With the pandemic worsening and more contagious variants spreading, this isn't the time to be lifting restrictions on international travel. And in light of the contagious variant, B1351, South Africa has been added to the restricted list.
Well, isn't that interesting? Travel ban Joe. It was about 11 months ago when Joe Biden was calling President Trump xenophobic for putting on the travel bans. But we're going to go back and take a look at the history of Trump's actions in regards to the coronavirus when he did put bans not only on China, but also Europe, as we will seek the truth daily together, my friends. Okay, so on January 21st, 2020, first U.S. case confirmed. On January 29th, 8 days later, President Trump had a task force created to confront the coronavirus. On January 31, Trump blocks travel from China, and the news media and Joe Biden came out and called him xenophobic. We will hear it from Joe Biden's mouth here in just a few minutes. And then we see the stock market tumbles. And of course, they blame that on Trump, where it was the coronavirus's fault. Okay. And as we move down, there you go. March 11th, Trump bans travel from Europe, promises free treatment. Now, I want you to take a look at what Joe Biden said the day after this transpired. And remember this date, March 11th, 2020. And here you go, coronavirus. Biden slams Trump's xenophobic Europe travel ban, says he'll lead with science, okay? So let's go and listen to what Joe Biden had to say back on March 12th, 2020.
But neither should we panic or fall back on xenophobia. Labeling COVID-19 a foreign virus does not displace accountability for the misjudgments that have been taken thus far by the Trump administration. Let me be crystal clear. The coronavirus does not have a political affiliation. It will infect Republicans, independents, and Democrats alike, and will not discriminate based on national origin, race, gender, or zip code. It will touch people in positions of power as well as the most vulnerable in our society. And it will not stop. Banning all travel from Europe or any other part of the world may slow it, but as we've seen, it will not stop it. And travel restrictions based on favoritism and politics rather than risk will be counterproductive.
Now, this is the debate that transpired on October 22nd in 2020, and I'd like for you to listen to what Joe says here and listen to what President Donald J. Trump says in response.
We're about to go into a dark winter, and he has no clear plan, and there's no prospect that there's going to be a vaccine available for the majority of the American people before the middle of next year.
President Trump, your reaction, he says you have no
I don't think we're
plan.
going to have a dark winter at all. We're opening up our country. We've learned and studied and understand the disease, which we didn't at the beginning. When I closed and banned China from coming in heavily infected, and then ultimately Europe, but China was in January. Months later, he was saying I was xenophobic. I did it too soon. Now he's saying, oh, I should have, moved quicker. But he didn't move quicker. He was months behind me, many months behind me. And frankly, he ran the H1N1 swine flu, and it was a total disaster, far less lethal, but it was a total disaster. Had that had this kind of numbers, 700,000 people would be dead right now, but it was a far less lethal disease. Look, his own person who ran that for him, who, as you know, was his chief of staff, said it was catastrophic, it was horrible, we didn't know what we were doing. Now he comes up and he tells us how to do this. Also, everything that he said about the way every single move that he said we should make, that's what we've done. We've done all of it. But he was way behind us.
Now, my friends, they say hindsight is 20/20. If you'd like to go back and listen to that debate again between President Trump and Joe Biden, then you can. I'll put a link in the description. It's over on C-SPAN. But NTD News, as we started this video out with, is one of the best, straightforward, honest news channels you're going to find. And I highly recommend you go over and subscribe to NTD News. I'll put a link to them in the description. Seek the truth daily, my friends. The truth will find you seeking.